I like to feel like I started the post credits thing, and Marvel picked up on it and took it to another level.
It's a sneaky way to get people to stick around through the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All righty.
Well, that was fun, Gary. Great to see you.
Well,
Seeing you.
would you guys? Hold up.
Is your contact info still the same, Gary?
Yep.
I'll give you a call just to say howdy.
Sure.
Excellent.
Oh, before I forget, Anthony, everybody. God, I feel so dirty doing this, but any of you out there watching, Anthony and I actually are co-starring on a television show called Star Stunts Action. Season 1, 6 episodes, is streaming on Tubi right now. So if you'd care, and we're just about to do a season 2. We were talking about it yesterday. So if you want to tune in, Star Stunts Action, get a behind-the-scenes look at action movies, entertainment, and I think Anthony hits me with a whip a couple of times, but never accidentally, always on purpose. And I usually deserve it because I've been mouthing off. So tune in and check it out. And now I've done my dirty duty, and let's go back to talking about the movie.
Well, before everybody breaks, hold on, let me pull up my notes.
Notes?
Well, yeah. Well,
That sounds organized.
yeah. If Mr. Anthony, would you give me 2 numbers between 1 and 9?
7 and 5.
So Nicholas P. and our Ross ain't here, so we will take care of him. We'll get the mugs that we are giving away tonight.
Ah.
So let's see.
Hey, Nicholas B. That must be you.
Hey, Nick, where you at, buddy?
Oh, and who's that pretty girl?
I got 2.
Two princesses.
Yep, say hi. That's Blade.
Hi.
Say hi, Blade.
Hi.
I'm not really bad. I just play it on TV.
That's Anthony. And that's Gary.
Hello.
Hi.
Gary directed the movie.
Hi.
guys.
Yep.
Made all this possible.
Yep. We stayed up real late past our bedtime to watch the movie with you guys.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it.
We watch it all the time. We love it, don't we?
Great.
I really like it. And
Thank you.
Do your homework.
Well,
Get
at
your
least
bed-
tomorrow's not a school day.
Yes, that is true.
Every day is a school day.
Just ask your wife, Dr. Mary, right?
Now she has to school me every day.
Oh, boy.
anyway,
Well, that was fun, guys. Thank you.
Before we let everybody go, does anybody have a quick question for Gary or Anthony?
I do.
What you got, Ray?
Hey, Anthony, I got 2 questions. Great job on your film here. And on the second one, I noticed you actually started in Roadhouse, correct? As one of the lackeys? Yeah.
Hardly a lackey. I'm the one with the razor.
Yeah, the bad guy with the blade.
Yeah. Right boot.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the main reason for your character to actually go after Dalton and what's his name, the Sam Elliott character, as in Wade Garrett?
That would be Wade Garrett, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. What was
So what you're-
the whole meaning of that? Like, why did you take out that Wade
Well, we
Garrett
were working
for
for Ben Gazzara, and Ben was the big boss, so that's you kind of do what you're told. It was kind of funny. I really never did learn. I actually have a whole other fight with him when Marshall Teague, the guy with the earring, the head right hand man. I was next in line, but he's fighting Sam Elliott, and I'm fighting Patrick Swayze yet again, and doing an axe kick into a beer mug next to next to Ben Gazzara. So it was kind of fun. I I enjoyed that movie very much. A lot of great people. Sam, I'd worked with him before. I trained Angelica Houston with the Whitford project called Buffalo Girl. She was Calamity Jane. And Sam is very much what you see is what you get. And it's always a pleasure, to work with him. He's that guy. I do a lot of voiceover work, and they're always looking for that kind of Sam Elliott voice, So, I'm the second call when they can't get Sam.
Hell yeah, I love that film, dude. Roadhouse, awesome.
It's my
Great
cult
acting.
movie. This
Question is,
Master of the Universe is my favorite, but
That one too.
Roadhouse is my cult movie.
Hell yeah. A lot of action, a lot of.
Well, very funny story. You
That's
talk about
tricky,
fire.
dude.
We almost burned down the high school in Masters. The big fire sequence, we're burning down where Patrick Swayze's living. That's across, the river from Ben Gazzara. The special effects guy, his name was Aldo. I called him Aldo the Pyro because in order to keep the fire burning, to keep, so we'd have continuity, he had Ziploc bags of gasoline and he just lobbed them onto the cabin to keep the fire. We did that for about an hour. So I think he spent more on gasoline than we had for that whole final budget sequence, Gary.
Probably.
it's funny when I'm telling people about Anthony, or I, just reference him or something. He's done so many films and so much good work. At the risk of sounding like I'm kissing his butt, but between Fearless and Masters of the Universe and Star Trek and all these things he's done, people who aren't big movie fans, sometimes their eyes will glaze over a little bit, and then I'll go, he was the guy with the knife in his boot from Roadhouse. I'm like, oh, that guy, we love that guy. It's like that's the Rosetta Stone for Anthony DeLongis.
With all of which I appreciate that I got to do some more. I got to do some more movies because I'm getting to that age where I reference people. Is there something I might have seen you in? And I start rattling off things, and their eyes glaze over because they haven't even heard of Highlander, which I guess started off or Star Trek Voyager, and they're kind of going, no, I've never seen that. And you just start going.
Well, I'll put it this way.
What?
I'll put it this way before we let the other two ask their questions. But I got to throw Jason under the bus because I remember when we had that group chat about the TV show that he had plugged. Rumor was
Yes,
Jason likes to text in the middle of the night Anthony asking questions on whatever.
I'll get this phone call, and if it's after 11 o'clock, I'm pretty much going. So I wonder what Jason wants, and he'll always lead off with, "Oh, hey, you still up? Just random question," and it's kind of fun because whenever he calls, I'll have a story, to kind of fill in a blank, and Jason's a very, very good writer. But whenever he will call and bring something up, I'll bounce ideas off of him, and just kind of he'll walk away with something because he always makes me think of variations on things that gives him food for thought, and hopefully, I'm still trying to get him to write a horror script. Maybe you'll like this, Gary. This crazy new workout thing that they call The Mirror, and I'm saying, okay. The mirror, this guy or this girl gets this and they're working out, and then the mirror starts talking to them.
SNL.
Wherever they go,
SNL did a sketch. SNL did a sketch.
Well, I don't watch SNL, so this came out of me. But I think it's creepy as hell.
He's like a demon in the mirror, ultimately.
Yeah. Well, and then you anytime you walk past a reflective surface, the mirror's trying to tell you to kill somebody.
Yeah.
See, I told you, Jason.
should have struck while the exercise equipment was hot.
Listen, there's how many hero's journeys do we have? There's only a few, according to Campbell. So you can still make it your own. Anyway,
Hey,
That
Holden.
book was named Hero of 1,000 Faces. I think I've got about 980 to go. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, we're separate. See,
You
this
had a
is
question?
actually Anthony's one of like 3 people in Hollywood that I've met that is actually really well read. and he and I speak the same language sometimes in a very disturbing way. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go on.
Hey, Holden, what do you got?
First of all, I just want to say great job from both of you. Huge fan of the film.
Thank you.
Also, I was just wondering, did you guys have any idea where the sequel might have gone?
There's been about a dozen attempts so far by different writers with different directors. I think I've counted so far. There's been at least 8 scripts developed by different writers, some really good writers. There's been, I believe, at least 7 directors attached, some pretty good directors attached. All of them have fallen through so far. But in the most part of the problem now is, I don't know if you know how Hollywood works, but every time a studio develops a property, they carry those charges for the writers, for the directors, the holding fees, whatever it is. So those get carried and they keep adding up interest just like any loan. And it's bounced now from Canon to, I think, to Warner's, from Warner's to, I can't remember who. Anyway, it's at Sony now. And the rumor is that there's something like a $28 or $30 million carrying. So there's that much money that someone's got to eat or pay to Sony before they budget the movie. That's just sunk costs. But it does appear that maybe Netflix is going to be, because Netflix, their economics are different. As you know, Netflix already did the new animated series, and they've been in talks with Sony now to assume, because Sony has not been able to get the production. They've tried now with 3 different directors and a couple different scripts by different writers. But supposedly, Netflix has stepped in and said, look, we'll just make the movie and we'll pay you what you've got into it. And we'll also, pay you XYZ for, I don't know, whatever the deal is. So if Sony makes that deal with Netflix, Netflix will probably get the movie done, because they don't base their decisions on box office. They just decide this title would get this big an audience with this many subscribers. It'll add this many. They have a whole different matrix. And it may be worth it for them to spend 70, 80 million, 100, 120, whatever it's going to cost to make the movie. So the answer is, I don't know which script it is. And I don't know which way they're going to go. But I know that the last 5 or 6 or 7 scripts all were versions. I think David Ayers did one, and I think I can't remember now. A lot of them, and they're all versions of Going to Eternia, which is what I would do. I mean, obviously, the movie should take place on Eternia. The whole reason it went to Earth was the only way it could get made for the budget was to do that, and so that was a given that was already that Ed Pressman already had to deal with. And as I said, that's the script I got. I mean, you wouldn't have seen almost anything of Eternia in that script. But I think, the thing that needs to be done for the next one is, here's what I would do. I would hire Frank Langella again right now, and I would say the same number of years have passed. And I would say that when he went way down there, he went into, there's a whole scene that I wrote originally. Okay, here's a little thing for all your fans. When they blast away to get back to Eternia from the little mall there, in the script that I was writing, they wound up at a secret entrance that went through Snake Mountain, through the cave, through the tunnels beneath Snake Mountain to get to the throne room. But when all the budget cuts and pages were, it was 16 pages. So when we were looking for how to save money, I said, well, they could just blast right into the throne room, which is what we did. And that was the Snake Mountain passage sequence, where you go down to the bowels and the snake creatures are down there. Anyway, so I thought the opening of the film should be the opposite. Instead of following Skeletor in on the throne room as we did there, we'd be going through these caves and we'd come into this room and there's a glow coming from the other side and there's a throne and you're hearing the voice. You're hearing this older voice of Skeletor saying, "All these years." Think of the opening scene in Clockwork Orange when you're coming in on through the eye of what's his name?
Miguel.
And so you give Frank this brilliant monologue, which is basically the prologue. As he's finishing, he's saying, "Finally, I have arisen. The troops have arrived. Everything's in place." And blah blah blah. And as you come up over the throne, you're in a massive cave, and all the snake men and all the friggin' bad guys are there. They're and then titles, and then into Masters, and he's going to return, but he's now returning. I mean, he's got everything together, And I like this idea of a monologue and this thing coming up like this and then revealing. And then once you reveal, everyone coming around to him and coming in on his face and go to titles. And it's kind of like Masters of the Universe, I Skeletor, right? It's like, this is it. So all the mistakes he made last time, he's going to take care of this time. And he's going to really wage a major battle. And the forces of Eternia will have to deal with not only Snake Mountain, it's much more, it should be epic like Lord of the Rings, right? There's all these different, all of those singular characters in the lineup. You want to pick the best of those who come from their own races of people like them, and they have to bring all their own things to it. So, you always have to, these kind of stories, the villains have to be stronger than the heroes. Jack Kirby told me that when I was like 22, and he's right. Because he said if the villains aren't stronger, then they can't be heroes. Heroes can only be heroes when they're defeating a superior villain, a superior force.
You have to
So
rise to the challenge. I
Yeah.
do that in all my choreography. Yeah.
that's a long-winded explanation, but that's everything I
I
know.
like it. Let's do it.
I love all that.
Nicholas, what do you got, buddy?
Okay, we've actually got just a couple here. Deborah has a brief, short question for Gary. Go ahead.
Okay. Why does the people like?
Speak up.
Okay. Why do the people in the suits like Skeletor's soldiers? Why do they look like Darth Vader kind of Star Wars?
Well, they look that way. Actually, hopefully they don't really look that close to Darth Vader, but I do get the connection. But we had to make robotic soldiers, and we couldn't make them white, because if we made them white, they really would look like Darth Vader's soldiers. So we decided to go with black. We tried to give them their own look, but we had to make them look robotic because Mattel, who were kind of the bosses, the overall bosses of the character, they said that when He-Man fights, he can't kill any people. He can't kill people. So those creatures are supposed to be robots, and that's why they spark when they get hit. So that was the reason they kind of looked that way, and we chose black. Our initial instinct was to go with white or gray or something like that, but we actually thought those looked more like the Star Wars soldiers than these guys, because actually in Star Wars only Darth Vader was in black. So but maybe that was a miscalculation looking back. I don't know, but they're robots.
Well, the big difference between these guys and stormtroopers, obviously, is I saw they hit what they were aiming at, which stormtroopers never do.
They actually shoot better. The stormtroopers don't shoot worth a darn.
Right. Just one more thing, and just letting Gary and Anthony, thank you so much for being here, because this was fantastic. When I heard that you guys were going to be on this, my reaction was just ecstatic, because this has been one of my favorite films since childhood, and always been a huge Motu fan, but this film particularly is really what started it for me. So it's a fantastic film. It stood up the test of time. I mean, it's so timeless. I show it to my kids and they love it. They can't stop watching it too. So I would like to see them remake one. As Gary was pointing out, it's such a Hollywood mess. I would love to see that. I even think Dolph Lundgren has said something to the effect of, if I were to be recast, well, you're not going to see me play He-Man again. I'm not going to be taking my shirt off or whatever, but maybe he'd be up to playing, his father, King Randall.
Randall, yeah, or whoever, yeah, he'd be great. I think
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
If Anthony were to be recast, maybe he could ask if Anthony was Anthony's booking agent for the remake. What would you prefer if you were to be someone in the Motu universe?
Man at Arms.
Well, I've had fans say that they think I'd make a good man at arms. I've been studying for decades to be a good man at arms. So
wait. You don't want to be. Wait, Anthony, you don't want to be Skeletor's lackey?
You know what?
I am his associate.
I've never seen it on stage, but I've heard Anthony do bits of Yago. I think he would make an excellent Skeletor, quite frankly.
Actually, in Origins, Keldor, and that would be
Right.
amazing. And my son has always been a big fan of the Keldor origin story. And so, yeah, to see a Keldor transformation story with Anthony as Keldor would be really cool.
Please write letters. It's kind of fun because, you know, I've made a career out of being the antagonist for, well, pretty much all kinds of folk. And as, you know, Gary very wisely said, you know, you can't have a hero unless he has to rise to the occasion and battle somebody and go into your final climactic encounter knowing that he could lose.
Yeah.
You know, but the fact that he stands up and is willing to risk everything because this shall not stand, you know, I've gotten to play those characters a lot and I really enjoy them. But I'm now of an age where I can also play the mentor or, you know, the teacher or, you know, a more positive influence. So I'm happy to go either way.
Yeah, I think it's funny. He says, you know, I made a career out of playing the antagonist and whatever. And it makes it sound very highfalutin. I've said on several occasions it is nearly impossible to channel surf at 2 a.m. without seeing Anthony DeLongis menacing someone. Sooner or later, you will stop, and there he will be menacing someone.
Yeah, and those are the security cameras in his house.
Up on a mountain.
Well, I've had it's very funny.
I call him the merchant of menace.
My career, I was by myself.
That's the movie, Anthony. That's the movie. The movie is you, your character changed the name, and you've been a stuntman, actor, warrior, fighter, all your career, and the robbers robbed your house. Wrong house.
When I lived in Hollywood, I lived across from the Hollywood Bowl for 18 years before we came out here some 18 years ago. I was in a duplex across from the Legion Hall, and I go over to the park, and that's where I would teach and train and run my dogs and stuff. But I had these, the stairs going up to the second story, and the railing, I had swords jammed in, and I probably had about 40 swords. You know, I'm the Wyatt Earp of bladed weapons. I'm never more than a step away from something with an edge to it. But people used to say, boy, in the apocalypse, I want to come where you are. And boy, if anybody came into this apartment, they'd just start backing back out.
Sean, what do you got, buddy?
Hey, thanks, Jonathan. Gary, I just have a 3-week-old, and we're talking about movies can't wait to watch with him when he's old enough. This is number one on my list. Thank you. And so, because I first saw this movie when I was 3 in 1987, and saw it 1,000 times since. And but you said something while watching I never knew. You mentioned about, hey, the Eternia stuff was stuff that you had to put into the picture. When you first got a cast, it started with, He-Man showing up at Julie's door on Earth, and that's how it was going to go. My question is on the flip side then. At the other end of the movie, how was the movie going to end if it was going to be that battle in Castle Grayskull?
You know what? This is the second one of these I've done this week, these things, and it's got me thinking. And now I want to, because years can be tricky, so I want to go back and make sure I'm right in this. But my memory is that he did return to Eternia at the end. Not with, I don't think he returned with the kids. And that's where the American flag thing that was in the comic book that was based on the movie, because the script was sent way ahead of the movie and all, So there was that thing in the script where they go to Eternia, find the American flag, which hints at the fact that at some point, we came there. And so they did return to Eternia, but I think simply to wrap the film up. I don't recall that there was any battle there, but the discussion I had earlier this week, plus this one, is going to make me go dig up David's original script and make sure, because I don't want to go around saying the wrong thing, and I want to be sure. But I do know that the book ending of the picture, I mean, that's its own story. I wanted to say, have an epic feeling. I wanted to have a part of it on Eternia, and I came up with this idea, and I knew it was going to be a budget issue. So I actually sold it on a practical basis. I worked with Bill and Bill did a design for the throne room, and I said to the powers that be, Menahum and the producer, the studio, so guys, rather than going on multiple locations, if we build this throne room, I will shoot half of this movie in the throne room. I'll shoot the opening 15 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll shoot the last 30 minutes. It will all take place in this throne room, and that way we can set the world of Eternia through this room. And I think it justifies the cost because we don't have any weather issues. You know, when you're doing locations, there can be rain, there can be wind, there can be this, there can be that, there can be all kinds of things, and you lose time because people have to come there. I mean, Whittier's a good example. We lost so much time just getting there, setting up, trying to get the lights up, and then your 8-10 hour day turns into like 4 hours of actual productive time between the lunch break and everything else. But when you're on stage, you're in a control situation. So they ran the numbers and they said, okay, it makes sense. That's how we got that. And that's when I know I could book in the picture with this massive throne room. And the throne room, I think you probably have already read, that's 2 sound stages, you know, to get that opening that I wanted. Again, today, digitally, you just do it digitally. You do it on a green screen. But then if you want that big opening, you want that long walk up to the throne and the flip around the reveal, you got to build it. But so that's a long answer to your question, I guess. But all the Eternian stuff and the whole idea of the countdown, the clock, the opening of the great eye on the universe, the transformation into a god, the air centurions, I added all that stuff. There was none of that in there. But now I want to go back and read Adele's script because, you know.
Well, Gary, if I may, you said the American flag thing, and you just moved on, implying that we'd been there. This is news to me. So in the original script, was there an American flag that had been planted like on the moon, or was there a ragged one like you blew it up, you damn dirty apes?
I believe, again, I'll look it up and I can give you the actual answer because I'll go read the script, but I believe it went along. One of the stories in that pre-existed, I don't know if it was the toys or the cartoon show, or which one of them, one of your fans might know better than me because I did know them, but I can't recall now. But in one of those versions, there was the real reveal. They discovered an American flag. I think it was actually in the castle somewhere, I think. And that opened up the idea that at some point a person from Earth had come there, and I believe he was involved in the lineage that led to He-Man, I think.
Okay.
But now I got to go back and look it up. So that was pre-existing lore, but you have to understand, from the standpoint of trying to make this movie, there were conflicting lores because the toys were a little different than the animated show. There was a comic book that was done somewhere. I think the comic that went with the toys originally, which was a little different. So there was already some divisions in what this was. And all I wanted to try was, within the context of what I've been given, try and make the most cinematic movie I could that would work on the screen for not only the fans, but for people who might not know him. And you got to bring people in to have a wide movie. You got to bring people in that may not know any of the He-Man lore, so they have to understand it too.
Outstanding.
Thank you
Thank
for taking my question. And
Last
34
one,
years later,
make
I
it
say
good.
thank you for making the picture. You know.
Thank you.
Make it good there, Big C. What do you got?
Crickets.
Crickets.
Oh, is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you
I
guys?
know you were Big C.
Yeah. Make it good. You're the last one.
No, I know. I'm sorry, guys.
Make it good.
So, Gary, thank you again for making that movie. It's good to see Anthony, one of the actors. I'm from Costa Rica, and when I watched this movie, this was, long time ago. I remember watching it in VHS tape, and I was a big fan of this whole show. And for me, it was like the greatest. I couldn't get a copy of that movie up until recently that I got the chance to watch this movie again and see the director, one of the actors, and enjoying the movie with my friends. So I appreciate that. Well, the question that I have, and sorry, is Gary, do you know how extent was your perception of how international this movie will go?
I thought it would be relatively international because Mattel had the toys all over the place. So I knew there was certainly a knowledge of the characters worldwide. But a movie also depends upon how it's marketed and all that kind of thing. So at the time when Canon finally got the movie out, they were really going bankrupt. They had no money to back up the release of the advertising campaign. So to be honest, we weren't sure what was going to happen, to be honest, once they got it out. In fact, I do believe Mattel wound up putting more money. I know, for instance, Mattel paid for the premiere. Canon couldn't afford to have a premiere. So the premiere that was held at the Chinese Theater, I believe, which I couldn't be at because I was in Toronto working on Captain Power, which was the other Mattel thing. So the one thing Mattel understood, that the reason I couldn't be there was because I was trying to get Captain Power done in time for their deadlines. So I actually couldn't be there for the premiere, but there wouldn't have been a premiere if it wasn't for Mattel. So that's how much Canon was out of money. So, and I think that probably Mattel paid for a lot of the marketing campaign. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, no, I just it was a pity that we couldn't actually. I'm not too sure if it really made it to the theaters in Costa Rica, but I think maybe it did. It went quick, but I just think it was a great film. Back then, just compared to what we watched, I think it's a great movie. I cannot believe how didn't make it even more, because it wouldn't need more marketing and would it be a huge success. Well, even though, I mean, it makes good money after all, right? Yeah.
Santa Barbara is my hometown, and I know from friends there that told me that the other problem with the release was that in Santa Barbara, other than the opening weekend, it only played matinees because a lot of the theater owners thought it was a kids movie.
No.
So other than the opening weekend, apparently in a lot of places, they weren't playing it at nighttime. They were only playing it in the afternoons for matinees because they thought it was a kids movie. So I think that probably hurt too. That's what happened in Santa Barbara. And the only reason I know is friends of mine called and said, I went to see a movie, but I had to go see a matinee because they're only showing it for matinees. So I was like, what? But anyway.
Well, one of the other questions I had too is, did you say throughout the movie that the budget was like around $20,000?
It was
no, right?
One more zero. The finished budget was 21 million. It was budgeted at 18 million to start. Well, 17.9, but
okay.
So 18 million, and it was 20 million was done, and everyone has their theories, but it's very simple. What happened is I kind of forced them to hire Boss Films, Richard Edlund. He'd left Lucas, and I knew we wanted to have good effects, and you know, Menahem in the studio, they were not really well versed in dealing with guys like that, and he budgeted whatever it was, 96 effect shots, and before we were done, there were additional effect shots that we needed to get things done, and Richard really wasn't the kind of guy to do them favors. So they spent another probably 2 million there. But the other thing, which actually was an accident, but we were a beneficiary of, I don't know if you watch many Canon films, but most of the Canon films, even the Superman film they did that year, they have a very grainy quality, no matter who the cinematographer is, no matter who the director is, with very rare, if any, exceptions. They don't have the crispness, the crisp image that you expect from a movie. It's because what I found out was, and I found out when this came up, because all of a sudden, once again, I was causing them to spend more money. So Canon had a bulk deal in those days to have all the film developed at one lab in New York or New Jersey. All of their, it doesn't matter what the film was, it was all developed and processed there. And they did it, I mean, think about that, all the way across the country. Why? Well, because they had a great deal for whatever the cost per foot was to develop all this stuff. So what happened with our film, because we hired Richard Edlund, and Richard Edlund came from I don't know how much you know about the old effects business, but basically 65 millimeter effects that's the premier way you do it. You had to use 65 millimeter film, and you took special, what they call rock solid mounting cameras to shoot it, so nothing could jiggle because you had to do optical prints later, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so it turns out, and I didn't know this, none of us knew this until Richard started working, and he said, there's only 2 labs in the country that can process 65 millimeter film, the MGM lab and I think the Technicolor lab. So all of a sudden, Menahem was saying, well, fine, then you do your stuff there and we'll do our stuff where we do. And Richard's the one who said, you can't do that because the difference in the film quality, every time one of our shots come on, it'll look like it's from a different movie because the clarity will be so different. So they did a test because Menahem didn't believe it, and then they saw. And so I believe we're the only Canon film, I believe, that got processed through the MGM labs, which was the premier pristine lab at the time. So if you look at the actual, just the quality of the film, the crispness of the image compared to other films, you'll see there's a whole different quality to it. So that was the other reason that the budget went up. Both of them were kind of because of Richard, but one of them was a happy accident, you know, the film lab thing, and the other one just was that there were additional shots. That was the main bulk. And I think we did go a little over schedule too, didn't we, Anthony? I think we went a little over.
Yeah,
not a lot because yeah, I mean you ran a really tight ship. Again, you none of us in the cast, maybe Frank did, but really was aware of, you know, all of the obstacles that you were having to overcome, in addition to, you know, the miracle it takes to make a movie in the first place, you know, and the fact that, you know, I mean, just a couple stories we've related, you know, these are problems that came up and you have to come up with a solution because you can't edit what you don't shoot, you know, and if somebody puts a clipboard in front of your lens, for God's sake, and says you're done, you know, the fact that they did the same thing to Orson Welles doesn't help very much, you know, so it's, yeah, I mean, the more I hear about all of these things, the more I have to, you know, salute you that you came up with creative solutions and made literally something out of almost virtually nothing, you know, and it is surprising not only how well the film ages, but how many people it's touched. And a lot of it are little things like you talked about, you know, that there's only one of you, only one of anybody, you know, and that, you know, that every person is important. Every person has something to offer and to give, which is a great message for children, and for that matter, for the children and all of us as we age, you know, but to remember that, you know, we have something to give and to offer and to share and to teach. And I think that's, you know, underlying all of this, it's a very good story. And there were difficulties and there are things that, you know, gee, I wish we had that then. But, you know, when you, at the end of the day, it's a lovely story, you know, that continues to be passed on from generation to generation. As I said, I've traveled and worked all over the world, and everywhere I go, people talk to me about Masters of the Universe and how they saw it as a kid and how it touched them and how they show their kids, and, you know, so.
Well, I was about to say, this young man here, how awesome is it that you guys, what you were doing on soundstage and whatever, and all the stuff and this work that you did somehow found its way on a VHS tape to this young man, did you say in Costa Rica? And reached out and touched him. Talk about using your powers for good, man. That's awesome.
I have to tell you, and I think it says again a lot for Gary, that everybody went out of their way to do the best they could. I know all the actors certainly did. And I'm pretty sure wasn't there a day where people hadn't been paid, you know, and who was our line producer? Lovely.
Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot. And you know, and somehow you got together with him and you said to the crew, you know, you'll get paid at the end of the day. We're all here. How about if we, you know, we work, you know, and we shot all day, and Elliot showed up with a bag of money somehow, I guess, or check or something, you know, and but it's just, you know, we never stopped. Whenever there was a difficulty, we would collectively find a way to overcome it. And I remember my only disappointments with the film was I always wanted to do more. I always wanted for us to have been able to do more, but we literally shot up until the sun came up. We literally shot up until we couldn't shoot anymore because we were always all trying to make it better because it was special.
Hey, Matthew, you had your hand up, buddy. Don't make me regret this.
Hello. Hello. Sorry that I don't have a camera for anyone. But I guess hello, and thank you for this very special experience and memory that I'll always have. But I'll make this a sort of a superficial question, I guess, kinetics related. I guess this would go to Anthony. I was going to ask with the sword fight choreography, how smoothly did it all go with the practice or the actual filmed, the finished Because there was
Were you here
some.
earlier when I told that story? Were you here
Oh,
earlier?
oh boy, I was away for a brief
No,
moment. I
not a
may have
problem.
missed something.
It was very difficult in that, well, you probably noticed that we never had enough time. One of the things that was difficult was I had some time to, teach Dolph the language of swords. Dolph is a tremendous physical actor, and so I had a lot to work with. Initially, it was just I had to win his trust, which I did very quickly, and we trained hard, for a month and got him very comfortable. And I found out I was getting two swords, so we played around with combinations, going, okay, we will create the choreography, we will have rehearsal time. Well, we didn't. For example, our first meeting, I waited a long time for this. We were shooting. I trained Dolph for a month. I didn't then see him for over a month, and then the first thing we shot when we got to that location was the fight sequence, because that's how the schedule just worked out. So we had about an hour to put it together. But fortunately, he's so athletic, and we'd had our training period, so we were able to throw it together, not under the best of circumstances. The final sequence in the throne room was, again, we had put something together, but we were kind of waiting until we were, right there and figuring out what was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, the wardrobe and the giant head meant that the staff work had to be amended. And really, pretty much on the day we shot, it's like, oh, well, that's not going to work. All right, well, let's throw something together. And we did. And then we had, Gary had plans for an epic battle sequence that, you hear about certain movies. How long did you have to shoot that fight scene? Oh, we had 6 weeks. Oh, we had a month. Oh, we had, I'm going, we had hours, and it was largely due to the fact that, Dolph's, tremendous athletic ability, and the fact that at that point I've been doing weapons for, I don't know, only 20 years.
Ready?
Now it's close. So, but basically it was
You
just,
listening to this still?
we could, we could put it together because we had the ability to do it, but it was hard because we all wanted it to be so good, and it's hard to be, you can be fast, you can be good, but it's hard to be fast. Anyway, we would have liked to have had more time, but I thought that considering the time we didn't have, we still came up with something that was satisfying and told a good story. We gave Gary something to shoot.
Anthony told me early on, we had only known each other a few months, and I remember he said something that I thought was very profound, was you can't wing it unless you have the skills to fly. And I know Anthony has tremendous physical, real martial arts skill, as well as film skill, stage skill, whatever. He's runs the spectrum. And Dolph, in addition to being a wonderful looking physical specimen, is a third-degree black belt in Kyokushinkai karate, which is one of the serious karate disciplines. They go out in the snow and punch trees with their fists, so both of them having that tremendous skill set to draw from, let them build a little, like I said, they practiced as much as they could, and then obviously they had wings so they could wing it a bit to awkwardly transition. I'll shut up now. Go ahead.
Well, I had a similar, I'm sorry, it's a little off topic, but I had a similar thing happen with with Jet Li and Yen Wu Ping. They flew me to Shanghai to partner Jet Li for this, the movie Fearless, which was great. They were about 5 days behind catching up with the sequence, so I didn't get to train with the team. I met them when I walked on set. The team immediately started throwing together choreography, and when Jet and Wu Ping were happy, he and I got up, walked it twice, and then would shoot it at speed. We never shot the first sequence. We shot 3 times. Everything else was two takes or less. Neither one of us knew the choreography, but he had his 3 decades. I had my 3 decades of. So basically, he'd move, I'd adjust. I'd move, he'd adjust, and it had this really organic quality because it was unrehearsed. It was
Oh, wow.
all our rehearsal had happened separately over the decades that we'd been training. So coming together, I kind of had to bring my A game, but it was a lot of fun and very challenging.
And then when he got
Not
his,
how it should be.
and then when he busted his arm, he had to leave the set.
Actually, what was funny was, they brought me to do this sequence. I got some great stories, but I'll very quickly go to this. Prior to that, they brought in a guy who was 5-time world champion, boxing, this and that. First shot, he hit Jet in the face and broke his nose.
Oh, bad.
So 3 days later, after the swelling had gone down, he came back on. He hit Jet in the face again, and that was the end of him. But it's like you have to.
Why wasn't it the end of him after the first one?
But you have to be able to. I had to prove myself walking into their house. I like to work. I like to evolve things. Ideally, we didn't get to evolve anything on E-Man. That was very much.
It was all, there's a pressure cooker. But there's two people. There's two other people with questions, Justin and Robert.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. All that. So it was sort of spontaneous, sort of improvised too, right? As it went. Wow. Well, thank you for all that.
Thanks, Matt.
That means a lot to me. Thank you very much. Very a lot to me. Thank you.
Well,
whoever's next. Sorry.
Justin and Robert seem to have questions.
I can go. I just want to say this is for Gary. I have this T-shirt.
Oh, that's awesome!
Cool.
I knew that would make you happy. It was great to meet everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm a huge fan. I actually was doing some research because I wanted to go to Whittier and see some of the locations, and actually was surprised to hear there was a huge earthquake that maybe you were aware of it, that happened kind of the same year the movie came out, not a few months after the movie came out. And apparently all the kind of main locations of the main town was destroyed during the earthquake. So I was really sad to hear that you can't really go back and see any of the making of the film. So
yeah, it's true. The earthquake hit because I was looking for the most picturesque parts of the town, which are always the oldest parts of the town. So brick buildings, because you don't want to just have ugly, contemporary buildings. And so I wasn't surprised that a lot of it collapsed in the earthquake because we were using the old buildings. Thank God they didn't collapse while everybody was on top of them.
I was going to say that's the one thing that didn't happen during the shoot.
And okay, so I see Justin.
Justin had one. Where you at, buddy?
I'm right here.
Okay.
How's everybody?
Good.
Good. I wanted to thank you, Gary, for doing a great job with this movie. I remember seeing this way back in '87 in the theater, right? The Sheraton 7 theaters in Florida.
Wow.
And I wanted to see it twice in a row, and my aunt instead, it was still playing there a number of weeks after, and it just so happened that the unfortunate Jaws: The Revenge was playing, and he dragged me to see that. Yeah, I was like, great call.
I remember the log line. This time.
Oh yeah, it's a good call. Thank you for that bit of torture. I mean, it was just like revenge on me for or something. And but I can't remember where. I think it was a blog. I remember reading that this someone was pitched to be shot in 3D originally. I don't know how true. I don't know. I forgot it was a blog. But I introduced James Cameron to 3D filmmaking when we did T2 3D. Oh.
Jim had never done 3D before. And I had developed the concept for Terminator 2 3D for Universal. And pitched it, and we developed the whole thing. And of course, you had to pitch it to Jim because if Jim didn't approve it, they wouldn't get the rights. And long story short, Jim loved it and approved it. And not only did he approve it, he said, I'm going to get Arnold in. I'm going to get the original cast in, which he did, because that was no theme park attraction had ever had original cast members in it before, because actors tended to look down on it. But it was my fervent hope, because when I pitched it, Jim said, we need to get, who are you going to get for Arnold? And I said, well, we'd like to get Arnold. And if we get Arnold, we shoot it one way. And Jim knew I directed Masters, so he knew I directed films. And I said, if we can't get Arnold, then we'll get an Arnold lookalike, but we'll shoot it differently, obviously. So we have to shoot him from longer shots. And Jim goes, no, you have to get Arnold. I said, I agree. I said, Arnold. And so so he got Arnold, he got the original cast and everything, but the whole 3D thing, about halfway through the shoot, I'm gonna sit there and he kind of goes, this 3D thing's pretty cool. And I think and he was in pre-production on Titanic when we were doing his biggest part in that T2-3D was the second act, which was the actual film part that didn't have any live actors on stage. So it stood by itself in terms of the continuity of the whole thing. And so he said, after Titanic, I think I'm going to do whatever. I think I'm going to do all my future films in 3D. This is the way to do it. I was like, I just thought that was chit chat. This kind of stuff you hear on a set.
Mhm.
Not with Jim. If Jim says something, he means it. So anyway, that was. But so I've done a lot of 3D stuff over the years for parks, for attractions. But no, this one. There's no way we could have shot that in 3D back then because it would have even been more money, more to shoot, more to edit, more to everything,
Yeah, because it's I always mispronounce his name as Mannheim Golan or
Menahem.
Menahem. Yeah, he always loved to.
But not him.
He always loved to throw money at movies, and I miss when Canon did movies. I love even we'll forgive him for Superman 4 and.
Well, towards the end of the shoot, this is my best story. I don't think you know this one, Anthony. So we were shooting nights, which meant we'd finish it when the sun came up, and I'd go to my hotel, my Holiday Inn in Whittier and wherever it was, and go to sleep, and then we'd have to get up again. So I would get a call you're going to sleep through the day, so you can get back to start shooting again that night. So, but I would have a note waiting for me. Menahem wants to see you. Be there at 2:00. Well, it's like a 45-minute drive from Whittier to, if the traffic's not bad, to where Canon was down in downtown LA. And he knows I have to be back at like 5 or 6 to prep for the evening shoot and everything. So I would drive down there. The first one I wasn't ready for. Then it was like once a week. So I'd go down there and I'd be there for the thing, and they say, okay, come in now. Menahem's ready to see you. And I go, so what is doing? What is going? You're late. You're late on the film. You're late. I said, no, I'm working the best I can. It's a night shoot. Blah, blah. He goes, you are bankrupting us. You are bankrupting us. You are putting us out of business. He just yelled at me like this. He'd yell at me like for 5 minutes. And I go, well, we're doing the best we can. And, I don't tell you, we'll try and cut a few more pages. We'll try and get this done. He goes, you are bankrupting. You are good. Okay, go. I had to go and get spanked once or twice a week for 10 minutes, even though it always ended with, okay, go.
What custom? Wow, that was very good.
Nice.
It was funny. The first time was not so funny to get called in at that time and get there and then get yelled at. But at the end, when he goes, okay, go, because. But then I knew, okay, well, this is just a spanking. This is a spanking. I'm gonna have to take the spanking, and I'm gonna go back to work.
You're killing me.
Well, as we
I'll
wrap,
rend my clothing. You'll be dead to me. Dead to me.
You're killing us. You're killing me. You're killing the studio. I want to say, well, what about the other 20 films? It can't just be me.
Funny. That's a very good impression of him.
I think Menachem wanted to be C.B. DeMille.
What I've seen of the documentary of the Canon films, yeah, I'd have to agree. Yeah, I mean,
well, Canon films are, I've been in a few. They do have in some ways I miss them. There's a simplicity to them. There's a, kind of a really, sometimes it looks cheap, but, sometimes it's just, there's this kind of really, gritty, we don't have the money to do any effects here, so we've got to do the best we can practically. And in some ways I like that, it's, it doesn't have the finished quality of so many modern films, and almost no special effects. I mean, the number of effect shots that you got in Masters and how effective they are still is pretty amazing.
Yeah, we assemble a pretty good team. Bill Connie on the music, Richard Edlin on the effects. I mean,
But
Ann Coates was the editor. Ann Coates edited Lawrence of Arabia.
I know,
And The Elephant Man, and I really tried to get an A team together, and we somehow did it. We managed to do it.
Annie Coates invited me into the editing room one day, which was a huge thrill for me.
Yeah, she was amazing. She was great.
Yeah, very. I think I managed to see dailies a couple of times, which is very rare because directors and producers don't usually like to have actors in the room when they're watching dailies. you kind of have to censor yourself, or not. You're killing me.
Well, it's funny. You guys talk about canon films, and there is a certain nostalgia. There's a certain kitsch quality. Some films are definitely better than others. But as a kid who grew up in one of the notches of the Bible Belt, I grew up in Virginia, heart of Dixie. I'm the first generation of my family who hasn't run moonshine. We were late getting cable TV, and Cinemax was my only view to the outside world, a world beyond Dixie. And I would tune in Cinemax, and I would see Masters of the Universe, and I would see Shokasugi films, and just all this stuff that Canon was putting out. And then at night, Cinemax would show Sylvia Christel films, and that was a different vibe. But that was my first glimpse at a world beyond Dixie. And I'm like, I got to get out and do that. So literally, when I came to Hollywood, my first day in Hollywood, the first person I met was Shokasugi. The next day, the second person I met in Hollywood was Anthony Longis. So whatever you guys were doing back there when you were sending it out into the ether.
How much did you put in Anthony's cup when you saw him?
I was going to say,
oh Lord!
If you could run some moonshine, we could probably fund a movie.
Okay, true story.
We could have used some moonshine on the Masters set.
All right, true story. Sidebar here. I'll give you the short version. Anthony was kind enough. I went to Radford University. They have a big martial arts camp every summer. Anthony was kind enough to come teach one summer as a special guest. He hits Virginia, Southwest Virginia. Of course, the first thing everyone says, "Oh, this is moonshine country. Can we?" I'm like, "Yes, I still know some people I could call some moonshine." And so we come in. I got some old phone numbers, so I come in. We sit down with the mason jar, and I introduce Anthony to my kung fu teacher, Sifu Kwong, who fixes us all dinner at his restaurant. Complains about how bad the moonshine is, about how it's not up to snuff, and then proceeds to sit there and drink it while poor Anthony just watches his moonshine disappear. So I think by the end of the evening, he had about this. Yeah, I think he had about this much left to pack up and take home to Dr. Mary.
Some of it. If you open it, it's like you're in a cornfield. You're just kind of going, "That's corn liquor, isn't it?"
Anyway, that's off topic. Continue, guys.
Well, I was going to say, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think my wife wants me to come have dinner, but
a
couple more questions. And
I was actually going to wrap, but what I was going to say was, well, first of all, thank you to all three, Jason and Gary and Anthony. But I'd be curious to know if you guys care to share anything, social media or websites or anything like that for people to hear.
Well, once again, go to Tubi, check out Star Stunts Action, season 1, six episodes. You can see me, Anthony, James Houston, Michelle Lee, go behind the scenes on Action Entertainment. We talk to your favorite movie stars. We jump off buildings. We crash cars. We do all sorts of fun stuff. So it's like hands-on BTS of your. I ran out of steam there. Behind the scenes on your favorite action movies, Star Stunts Action. Check it out on Tubi. All right, next.
Well, it's one of the things we love to do now that the pandemic is settling down. In between, projects, whatever, be involved with. I host people from across the country, around the world. People come to train with us at Rancho Andalo. And I love to teach because it keeps me performance sharp. And I like to train to be able to actually do things because it makes it easy to film them. So if you want to train to be your favorite action hero or learn to use swords from all nations, I do all the European, the Filipino, the Japanese bladed weapons. I'm very good with a whip. And we do archery, and we have an on-site gun range and all this kind of stuff. So then, whereas I work with professionals most of the time, we also kind of open it up to people who are going to enjoy this. My wife is a world-class, chef. Gary, you should come visit. And, so.
Come for the meal. I'm not sure about the archery and the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can sit in the hot tub and drink, and we'll entertain you. Yeah. But anyway, come check out DeLongis Performance and Combat Arts. It's on my website, which is www.delongis.com. My last name.com.
No, I don't have anything to hawk right now, except I have a cousin in Kentucky who has a moonshine business that would like. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh boy.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Well, everybody, thank you so much.